There are people who have mastered the art of pretending they're fine. They know exactly when to smile, when to say, "I'm okay," and how to make it sound convincing. They laugh at the right moments, nod during conversations, and carry an air of calm that feels unshakable. But behind that polished surface lies a storm no one sees. Inside, there's exhaustion, a kind that sleep doesn't cure. These people aren't liars in the traditional sense. They are survivors. Pretending to be okay isn't about deception, it's about protection. Somewhere along the way, they learn that showing pain comes with consequences, judgment, pity, or rejection. So they built an armor made of smiles. Each "I'm fine" is another layer of defense, another attempt to keep the world from looking too closely. Yet this mask is heavy. The longer they wear it, the harder it becomes to remember who they are beneath it. And the cruel irony is that the world praises their strength while being blind to the quiet suffering that fuels it. Many of these people learned early that emotions were dangerous. Maybe as children they were told to stop crying because it made others uncomfortable. Maybe they grew up in homes where silence was safer than honesty. They internalized the idea that expressing pain was a weakness, something shameful that needed to be hidden. So they became experts at emotional restraint. Over time, repressing feelings became instinct. Now, as adults, they don't even realize they're doing it. "I'm okay" rolls off their tongue before they have time to think. But beneath that phrase lies a world of unsaid words, disappointment, guilt, loneliness, confusion. They bottle everything up because they believe no one wants to hear it. And the longer they do, the more distant they feel from themselves. They begin to live on autopilot, smiling, working, existing, while inside, a quiet emptiness expands. The performance of being fine becomes so convincing that even they start to believe it, until the moments of silence when the truth finally echoes back. People who pretend to be okay rarely ask for help, not because they don't need it, but because they don't believe they deserve it. They're used to being the reliable one, the listener, the comforter. They hold everyone else's pain like it's their own, but when it comes to their own struggles, they retreat. They tell themselves that their problems are small, that others have it worse. Deep down, they fear being a burden, fear the moment someone might see the cracks in their carefully crafted composure. So they keep everything inside, hoping no one notices the fatigue in their voice or the hollow in their eyes. They tell jokes to fill the silence, offer advice they can't take themselves, and quietly hope someone will see through the act. But few do, because when you're good at pretending, people rarely look deeper. And that's the tragedy. They've become invisible in plain sight. The world sees their smile, not their struggle. It hears their laughter, not their longing for someone to ask, "Are you really okay?" What's often misunderstood about these people is that their strength isn't fake. They truly are strong, but it's the kind of strength born from survival, not peace. When life teaches you that vulnerability leads to pain, you learn to stay guarded. Pretending to be okay becomes a coping mechanism, a way to keep chaos contained. It's like patching a leaking roof with tape, temporary, fragile, but better than watching everything collapse. The mind convinces itself that control equals safety, that if you can just hold yourself together long enough, the pain will eventually fade. But it doesn't. It hides, waiting. These people carry entire storms within them, weathering lightning in silence. And the worst part? The more they hide their pain, the more disconnected they become from others. Because genuine connection requires truth, and truth requires vulnerability. You can't be fully loved if no one ever meets the real you. Yet for them, that risk feels too great. So they continue to wear the mask, even as it slowly suffocates their sense of self. Psychologically, this pattern is a defense mechanism known as emotional masking, a learned behavior rooted in fear of rejection or abandonment. When someone experiences emotional neglect or criticism during formative years, their brain adapts. It learns that authenticity leads to punishment and that suppression ensures survival. Over time, the body begins to store what the mind refuses to face. The tension shows up as anxiety, headaches, fatigue. The silence turns into insomnia. The constant pretending becomes a kind of slow erosion of identity. People forget what genuine happiness feels like because they've been chasing a version of fine that keeps others comfortable. They start to confuse numbness with peace. But numbness isn't peace, it's exhaustion disguised as calm. The danger of emotional masking is that it creates distance not just from others, but from oneself. When you spend years performing happiness, you forget how to feel it. And the longer that performance goes on, the harder it becomes to take off the mask without breaking apart. Behind the constant composure of people who pretend to be fine often lies a childhood wound. Many of them grew up in environments where emotions were dismissed or punished. When a child cries and no one listens, it learns silence. When it expresses fear and receives criticism, it learns suppression. That same child becomes an adult who equates vulnerability with danger. Every time they feel sadness rising, they push it back down. Every time they want to speak up, they remind themselves not to cause trouble. The result is a lifetime of emotional self-censorship. They become experts in containment, holding pain so tightly that it begins to define them. And yet, beneath the surface, their inner child still pleads to be heard. It's the quiet ache that shows up in late-night thoughts, in sudden waves of sadness, in the way they feel disconnected even in a crowded room. They've built walls so high that even love has trouble climbing over them. But deep down, what they crave most is something terrifyingly simple, to be seen without having to perform. Ironically, people who pretend to be okay often make the best listeners. They can sense emotional pain in others because they've spent a lifetime managing their own. Their empathy is razor sharp, but it's a double-edged sword. They absorb other people's pain as a distraction from their own. Helping becomes a way to cope, to feel needed, to find purpose. But when they're alone, the emptiness returns louder than ever. They long for someone to notice their quiet struggles, but they rarely let anyone close enough to see them. It's safer to stay in control, to be the caretaker instead of the cared for. And yet, every time they comfort someone else, a small part of them whispers, "I wish someone would do this for me." This internal contradiction, wanting connection but fearing it, creates a cycle of emotional isolation. It's not that they don't want love. They just don't believe they're worthy of it. And so they keep pretending, wearing kindness as armor, hoping someone will see past the smile and recognize the silent plea for understanding behind it. The human mind is resilient, but it's not limitless. Over time, pretending to be okay begins to take a toll on the body. The nervous system remains in constant alert, as if danger never ends. Cortisol levels rise, sleep becomes restless, and even small stressors feel overwhelming. The body remembers what the mind refuses to feel. Eventually, symptoms appear: anxiety that comes out of nowhere, sudden exhaustion, physical tension that no massage can fix. These are not random. They are the body's way of saying, "Listen," but people who pretend to be okay rarely do. They keep pushing, convincing themselves that if they just stay busy, everything will be fine. They bury pain under productivity, emotions under efficiency, but healing doesn't happen through avoidance. It begins with awareness. It begins when the mask cracks, when exhaustion finally outweighs fear. And though that moment feels terrifying, it's also sacred, because for the first time in years, the truth finally breathes. The path to healing starts with honesty, not with others, but with yourself. It's the quiet decision to stop performing strength and start embracing humanity. Saying, "I'm not okay," isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of rebellion against the lie that emotions make you fragile. Real strength isn't endurance, it's authenticity. It's the courage to sit with your pain instead of hiding from it. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds slowly, like the thaw after a long winter. It begins when you allow yourself to cry without shame, to rest without guilt, to ask for help without fear. It's in those small moments of truth that you start to reclaim your identity, the version of yourself that existed before the world told you to smile. And once you begin to accept that being human means being imperfect, something miraculous happens. The walls start to crumble, and connection, real connection, begins to grow where fear once lived. So the next time you see someone smiling and think, "They seem so happy," pause for a moment. Remember that not all smiles tell the truth. Some are shields, some are survival. And if you're the one who's been pretending, the one who says, I'm fine, when your heart feels heavy, know this. You don't have to keep performing. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your truth. The moment you let the mask slip, you give others permission to do the same. You remind them that it's okay to be real, to feel, to break. And in that vulnerability, connection is born. Because the greatest relief doesn't come from pretending to be okay. It comes from realizing you don't have to anymore. You are allowed to fall apart. You are allowed to heal. And maybe, just maybe, in choosing honesty over performance, you'll find that being seen, truly seen, was what you needed all along.